Okay, right. Joyful namaste to everyone listening from all over the world. We've got US who's logged on, we've got UK who's logged on, and we've got Singapore and I don't know which other place, because I think this is going to be a very flavorful international spirited session. So welcome to the 5th episode of Wednesday Wisdom 2026. It's presented by Rotary Club of Bangalore and proudly championed by the Rotary 3192 Health and Wellness Fellowship. And really, it's so nice to see so many familiar faces, and hello to the new soul searchers here. For those who don't know me, my name is Minnku Buttar, and I'm the District Director for Health and Wellness Rotary District 3192, amongst other roles that I play. Today, though, we are holding space for something we think we do, yet we rarely pause to practice, which is listening. And in this age of noise and endless opinions and constant alerts, instant reactions, listening has shifted from a skill set, which I'm sure our guest speaker will tell us in a bit, to quite a rarity. And as there's a quote that comes to me from Rachel Naomi and Remen, and she reminds us, she says, listening is the most powerful way of caring. When someone is truly listened to, something softens and shifts during the interactions and the connections. So our topic today, why listening in the age of noise matters, is very apt. And I couldn't think of a better person to explore this with than someone who not only teaches listening, but embodies it. And through his work, people feel truly heard and begin to think, I think, with clarity and transforming the way they relate to themselves and others. And that's what listening is. Whether in private sessions or professional settings, our special guest speaker supports individuals in expressing their thoughts, emotions with ease, addressing patiently, and I know this because we've had long chats, addressing long-held concerns and strengthening relationships by cultivating deep listening, psychological safety, and trust. Please join me to welcome our very special guest speaker today, Colin Smith, the listener all the way from the UK. Welcome, Colin.
Wow, thank you so much. And thank you also for all of those that are here or will be listening to the recording. It's an opportunity. I'm sitting in London and you're in Bangalore, and we've made it happen very quickly. And so I'm also appreciative of the technology that enables us to do this. And even though we're talking about listening, which is kind of an irony in itself, it's an opportunity for us to explore listening more. So it's not a, how-to, rather an opportunity to consider and think about where listening applies to you and how it impacts you, whether you're on the receiving end of feeling heard and feeling valued, or you're the one listening to someone else. And finally, my thought on the quote you talked about is absolutely spot on. It's become a rarity, and technology is going this way faster, more impactful, blah 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 blah. I'm going the other way. I want to open up more connection, more opportunity to feel heard and feel valued. So yeah, delighted to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. I know that we connected first, if you remember, when you came as a guest speaker on my podcast on YouTube in 2022, was it?
Sounds about right.
Yeah, it's been 4 years, and then our paths have crossed so many times at the 360 degree, the friendship bench, and we're really happy to have Dennis, the inceptor, the miracle person who makes all these connections happen for all of us. And I've recently attended some of your very amazing, impactful listening matter sessions you run each month, Colin.
Thank you.
And I'm going to circle back to that towards the end so that more people can really learn, grow, and be enriched with your wonderful talks, because the way you hold space, um, I really don't have too many people on my list who does it better than you. So,
Thank you.
so welcome, Colin. Let's get right on with our talk, shall we?
Sure.
Like what you said so aptly, that this world is going at a pace where it's hard to keep up. It rewards speaking up. We teach our kids speak up all the time, and I think this has become like a generational thing. There's speed, there's opinions, there's this volume in our heads. But what happens to listening, right? If everyone's speaking, and yet I hear phrases like, oh, listening changes everything, and listening is a superpower. It's really ironical. So, Colin, my question to you as we start this beautiful podcast today, from where you sit and from what you've seen, how do you even start to describe listening? Because it's such a buzzword, but no one's understanding. And does it really matter how much we listen or not? I think that's a good starting point for us today.
Wow. Well, first and foremost, and you used the words earlier, and why I use them as part of the events I run. Listening matters, and so the events are about listening matters, but also the key point is listening matters.
Mm-hmm.
It's you touched on we favour speaking, and if you look at the four dimensions of communication: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. The first three we get trained in. The fourth, listening, we rarely get trained in. And yet, if you look at it from the other perspective, how much do we rely on these communication methods? Listening is the one we do most of all. So there's a kind of irony there. And you also touched on when we're speaking to our children, speak up, do this, do that. In my generation, it was as a child, you were meant to be seen, but not heard.
Right.
And so question like, will you listen? Why don't you listen? Becomes sort of like an order. And so we're often having that as a challenge to get over, to actually sit down and actually be with another person and listen. Does it matter? I think that you touched on it earlier on about the fast pace, etc., etc. But there's also the rise in mental health, the rise in suicide, the rise in loneliness, etc., etc., etc. People would rather go online to an interactive screen to order something than pick the phone up and speak to a person. I've noticed in restaurants more and more, they say there is a QR code on the table, use your phone, place the order, make the payment, and all that the server does is come and deliver it to your table.
Absolutely.
So where's the enjoyment for the person who's serving us? Because if you go to a very good restaurant, you end up having a conversation with the server or the head waiter or whoever it is. Same in all sorts of different places, like coffee shops, in the reception at a business that you go to. Nowadays, put all your stuff in because there's no one sitting there.
Yeah.
And then they will let you know, and your person you're seeing will come down. Oops, sorry. The person will come down to see you. So I think that listening matters even more. And the more and more and more we fall into this malaise of disconnection, polarization, and more, the need for listening is even greater. So I'm seeing more and more people going,
Yeah.
I just don't feel heard by my partner, my boss, or
Mhm.
anything. And it's hard. So yeah, that's my sense of where we're at the moment.
Yeah, you're just so spot on, Colin, because um, y- you know, in India, with the demonetization that happened a while ago, we've become so inanimate at our transactions. Like what you beautifully said, there's a QR code, and what we do is we scan and we order. In fact, wasn't there such a beautiful pleasure in exchanging money? Just to feel the money
Mm-hmm.
and just say, hey, you owe me like 60 rupees back. And you held it and you felt it, and that's kicking in with all your faculties of
Yes.
who you are. But yeah. But Colin, it's still considered a superpower, and if, like you said, it matters that we listen or not. But if it does matter as much as it you said it does, there's definitely a gap between how we think we are listening, how we think we're listening, and how we actually do it. Because I think there's a space that breaks down. So where is this, Colin? I am just trying to understand, and for the sake of our audience, where is this gap coming from? And why is genuine attentive listening so difficult? Is it the discomfort of silence? I mean, what is it? Why is it so difficult? And yet we think it's a superpower. Shouldn't we do it more often?
Yes, yes, and yes. I wish we did. Um, so part of the issue is for a lot of people, I think the most important reason, there are others, is people believe they listen and they
Mhm,
don't.
mhm.
So when we look at it, people go, I've got two ears, I'm very good at listening. No,
Yeah.
you're very good at hearing. And they
Mm,
go, well, surely hearing and listening are the same thing. Hearing is passive. You don't need to do anything. You and I sitting down in a coffee shop or restaurant, completely engaged with each other. It's noisy, it's busy. Someone shouts your name. You'll hear it. You'll look around. Did somebody call my name?
mm,
I wouldn't have heard it because listen, hearing is about keeping us safe. That's its primary thing. Why, when you go to a hotel for a change, sometimes the first night is an awful night because your brain is constantly on alert. What's that noise? What's that noise?
mm,
He, listening is active. You have to intend to listen, which is very different.
mm,
And so as I explain that to people, they go, oh, so I don't listen. And it's why perhaps my partner says, you don't listen. And I'm going, sure, I can listen. And you go, right, next time I'm going to make sure that I've listened. So next time happens and they say, you're not listening. Aha, I am listening. And I repeat back
mm,
exactly what she's just said or he's just said. And you go, yeah, fine. You've heard what I've said. You're
mm.
still not listening. And it's like, what? So when they say, sure, you can go to the match, that's the words they use and that's the words I hear. But if you listen,
Mm.
you notice there's something underneath that message, which is actually, I'm struggling a bit. I'd rather you didn't go. I'd rather we sat down, had a conversation about whatever it is. It may have been that she's had a difficult day at the office, or he has, or whatever.
Wow.
Those sorts of things. So I think that's one of the key issues, is we believe we listen. We don't. We hear very well. We have to intend to listen. And the other one I would say is that vast majority live in this fast-paced world. We simply don't have enough time to listen. And it's just one of those skills or they see it as a skill, something to do. Where real listening comes in, I believe it's a place of being with each other.
Wow. Beautiful.
And if I say these words, there's just 5 little steps. As you hear those words, notice in your body what it feels like. And so the first is talked at. So you are talked at. The second is I hear from. The third is I listen to. The fourth is be with. And the fifth is be. Notice how our bodies settle just with those words. And if you can start to move from the talking at to hearing from to listening to and so on, everything changes. The connection changes, the relationship changes, and you start to notice what is really being said underneath all of that. And there are other things, but they're probably the top 2 for me.
That's quite amazing. I also think, Colin, if I may add to that, number one is unless someone's very intuitive like you, who's had years of experience, it's very hard for someone who's just going to start on this journey of saying, okay, today I've heard Colin Smith, and I'm going to shift from being a hearer to a listener. It's people are walking around with armors, there's a sense of vulnerability.
Yes.
No one wants to be naked, with their emotions. So I would say you would have to be such an excellent, excellent listener to pass through and pick up and say, like the example that you gave, that there's something else they need versus what's being said. Don't you think? How do you get past that? How do you get people to get comfortable with, say, speaking and expressing? That's important. How do you do that? What would you suggest we do?
Sure. So the focus now is more about the speaker than the listener. I think the point you made about you start learning about listening, and as you move and progress and it takes time because it's not a skill that we've ever learned.
Yeah.
But from the speaker's perspective, and the way I look at all of this is, I could stand up and talk for a day on listening, and you go, yeah, it's been a lecture. But imagine that the whole of that day you have had opportunities to experience being heard by another, not hearing, but really being listened to, feeling heard by another. And so my answer to the question very simply would be, start listening to another. Because when you start listening to another in the way that we've touched on, which is give them your full attention, put your stuff to one side, settle and still yourself. Don't judge what they're saying. Certainly don't interrupt. And be really interested in where their question is going or their thinking is going. And when you do that, you'll find that people quietly settle, because I use this analogy. So this is typically how I arrive, and others arrive like this. By remaining in that space, they gradually slow down, their mannerisms change, they settle, they arrive. And together we create the space together. And when we're able to do that, there is a different level of connection. So I think it's important as a speaker to feel what it's like to listen to another,
Oh, that's a good one.
turn it around,
Mm,
and get to experience what it's like to be heard.
mm,
Because it was a post I made of I was walking somewhere and I could hear this. I suppose I'd only describe it like a lady on high heels with very heavy feet.
mhm, mhm,
And as I got closer, I realized it was I don't know, a 12, 13-year-old young girl on inline skates. And she was hanging on for dear life to her mum,
mm,
but she was walking in them. Now, it's in the name, skating, skate, skate, not walk.
mm,
And what I realized is that her mum had never skated before.
mm,
So she wasn't in a position to teach her how to skate. Because if she had known, she would have said, stop walking, push one, push the other. And so
right.
I look at that with listening is if we've
Mm,
had no experience of feeling heard, we don't know
mm,
how to listen. So part of the work I do is to get people to feel heard and go, oh my goodness, that was extraordinary. And as you will have experienced on the Listening Matters, we have those opportunities for you
yeah.
to be the listener and be the speaker. So that each time you get the opportunity to both experience what it's like to listen, and it's not easy because you've got to put your stuff aside. You've got to
Mm,
give that person that the encouragement, the ease, there's no hurry, there's no rush without saying a word.
gosh,
So you've
that
got to be fully present with them to do
so
that. And we feel it.
it's the body language as well. And what you're saying is stay clear of distractions. Uh, after we decided, Colin, that we were going to do this podcast, I picked up the book, Kate Murphy.
Kate Murphy, yes.
You're not listening, and so I came back to saying, how can we listen? And she actually suggests exactly what you're saying, that we're not just distracted, we are increasingly self-focused in conversation and giving our viewpoint to every viewpoint. And I find this all the time, and I'm guilty of it sometimes, that most people do not listen with the intent to understand, they listen with the intent to reply. Isn't that right, Colin?
Totally true. And even then, that's interesting, just noticing myself.
Mm,
So even though you'd said, yes, you were saying the question, I knew how you, this is me now, right? Even with the experience I have, I knew where the question was going. I was starting to rehearse. So in
mm,
theory, I'd stopped listening to you.
mm,
So because we're in that feeling of needing to rush,
mm,
I've foregone the attention. I'm now reflecting on what am I going to say? What am I going to say? Because I know I've got to answer in a minute. I missed what you said. I did. I
mm,
didn't because you followed it on. But we're often guilty of thinking of our answer, as you rightly say, to reply rather than to understand. Because if I waited to that end of that question
mm.
before thinking, you may have said something else. You may have said, and and that's been my challenge. However, my question is this, and I've already missed half of that because I think I know what's coming and all of that.
Mm.
So you're absolutely right, which is now shows I just forgotten the question.
So
See what happens when I get distracted,
yeah.
right? I've
Um,
distracted myself, and I've now can't remember what the question was.
and now I'm distracted with your distraction, Colin. But
Go with the flow of it.
coming back to that question, what I think I was just saying is, this people are so ready with their intent to reply,
Yeah.
right? And so what's a good way to restrain, in how do we develop that ability to hold back? What mentally can we do, then jump right in with your own contribution. Is there something that that would help our audience?
Great answer, or great question, sorry. The two things. One is seek not to fix or offer a solution. So almost like metaphorically, sit on your hands, shut it, right? So somebody's come to you with a question and they go, so, what do you think? And if you say, first of all, back to them, interesting question, what do you think? Because I'm now interested in their response, their answer, their thinking. And they go, oh, well, so-and-so, blah, 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 all these things. And then because you're giving them your full attention, you're listening, you're not interrupting, which is unusual. You're not judging. And they go, well, actually, now I think about it, my first thoughts are wrong. It should be this. Yeah, that's it. And they look at you and you go, and what more? Oh my goodness, I've just realized even the second answer is wrong. I know what it is now.
Yeah.
It can take a little bit longer sometimes. And they go, that's it, I've got it. Lovely. Thank you so much. And thank you for listening. And you, hang on.
What did you do?
What did I do? Right. So the first is don't try and fix. And that gives you the opportunity to let them come up with the answers. And they appreciate you more. But the other is it takes practice. So listening is a journey. It's a series of practices. You don't get it right. You make mistakes. So practice with each other. And part of what we do in Listening Matters is to practice. We practice listening to that person. And the best part of it is when they're thinking, I don't need to fix anything. Right? I'm interested in how they are thinking and where their thinking may go. Because the moment they say something, I may notice a trigger they might mention the cinema. And if I went to the cinema at the weekend, I might, I remember that film, but to return. And it's a little bit like meditation. It's not a fault when your thoughts go elsewhere.
Yeah.
Come back to the breath, return to the breath, return to the breath. It's a practice. And it's a never-ending practice. And so I think that's also it is also true with listening. So the more you get to practice it, and notice when they're speaking, you want to answer them or reply.
Yeah.
Shut it and wait. Notice their eyes. Notice where they're looking. They're still thinking. Right? So let them think. So leave a gap, 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. It seems like a long time, but it's not when they're thinking. And don't be surprised when they carry on speaking. And don't be surprised when you say, and what more? They smile and they carry on speaking. Nobody does that. So practice it.
And then they love you forever.
Right? It's been proven that we're liked more, we're trusted more. And one could say, all I've done is listen, really listen to them.
Colin, you have such a way. Every time I've talked to you, I go into this lull. My tone rolls, and I go into this very comfortable, comforted space. Yes, 100%. I think if we're looking at better relationships, work with ourselves, even, we need to. So what I understood, if I can recap, is we need to practice listening, but we also need to practice restraint. The ability to hold back rather than jump in. The most classic thing, Colin, which I find here in India is when you start speaking to someone, and this has happened to me all the time. And so I say, like, oh my God, I'm having really a tough day. And I've not even started sharing what's happened. And I've heard someone jump right in and say, "Oh my God, you think that's bad? You should you should hear about my day." So I think the one thing that I feel in keeping with what you just said, also to be curious about each other. I mean, wouldn't curiosity to ask the right questions, to encourage someone to speak really work in this scenario? If we were curious, we would ask more and they would tell more and we would hear more. Would that combination work really?
So first of all, if we look at the two words, curiosity and interest.
Mm-hmm.
So if and when I use the words, if you're curious about something, it's your agenda.
Mm.
If I'm interested in what you've got to say, then it's your agenda.
Oh, it's still my agenda. Okay.
No, sorry, I don't mean your agenda. It's
It's there.
it's their agenda,
Oh,
right?
okay.
So I'm interested in you,
Mm.
what you're doing, what's happening, what your thinking is, and for sure, the questions can be about what you've just said. So you've said, "Oh my goodness, Colin, I've had a tough day today." Right?
Mm.
The easy answer is, "You've no idea what a tough day is. Let me tell you." Right? It's all about me. The
Mm.
listening way is, "Oh my goodness, that sounds awful. Tell me about your day. How has it been a difficult day or a difficult week?"
Mm.
And then shut up and give you a moment to think, "Yeah, it has been a bad day. Why has it been a bad day? Why has it been a bad week?" And then, depending on the quality of the relationship, the depth of that relationship, the
Mm.
safety, I may or may not open up. And the point you made earlier about the armor, yes, we are. There's things I will tell you, there's things I will tell them. All right, so depending on where it is. And so you might say, I was up most of the night because one of the children was awake, and they're poorly. So this morning I was a little bit bleary eyed. I get to the car, it doesn't start. So now I've got to call the people out to give me a jump start and start. And then of course I'm now behind. I'm in traffic. I'm frustrated because I'm etc. etc. And you go, wow. And even the opportunity to just take that armor off a bit and share my stuff
Mm.
is enough for some to say, wow, I feel so much better now.
Mm.
Right? I've given you a little space to let some air out of your balloon. And it could be a lot worse, of course. But my stuff is my stuff. And if I've listened to you, it's entirely possible you go, "Oh, thanks for that. I feel so much better now. How about you? How are you? How are you today?"
Yes.
Right? And you're also more likely to be interested because you felt heard.
Yeah.
This is such a lovely dance with each other,
Reciprocity. Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
And some would say that you can do this with your partner, you can do it at work, perhaps once a week with someone.
Mm.
5 minutes. I'm going to give you my full attention to share whatever you want, and I'm going to be interested. And then turn it around, and then you get the chance to share for 5 minutes, whatever it is. And at the end, offer a word of appreciation for the other,
Oh, that's so
right?
beautiful.
Now,
Mm.
we get lots of feedback. We're getting feedback all the time. "You didn't do this right. You did this well. Please do more of this," right? And the only one we remember is what you didn't do well, right? When we offer appreciation,
Yeah.
it's always positive. Feedback is about what you do. Appreciation is about who you are,
Mm.
right? So today I might say, "Minnku, one thing I appreciate about you is the obvious thought that's gone into your questions and the really beautiful way you pulled them together and offered them as questions to me, right? And we don't have to do anything other than, let me just sit with that. Thank you, right?
Beautiful.
So typically it's a word or maybe a few words. It needs to be succinct, specific,
Mm.
and most of all, sincere.
I really
So
like
when
that.
I came on today, I wasn't
Mm.
thinking I'll offer you a word of appreciation. It's going to, oh, what shall I say? Right?
I'll
It was in the moment.
I'll take that, Colin. I'll take that and in just gloat and thrive in that. Thank you. I know you use that
Yeah,
as an example, but thank you. Um,
pleasure. And
yeah,
just as an aside for the audience,
yeah,
what I appreciate is them taking their time. This
yeah,
is the evening for you
yeah.
to take an hour to
Hmm.
come and sit with us and think about listening. So
Absolutely.
thank you.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. So you, you know, there's passive thinking, Colin, and there's act, uh, active listening, and there's effective listening. So what I mean, I know this is just terminology, etc. But uh, so that we all listening to you today don't get caught, when we go deeper into this, because we have some um, very deep thinkers in the audience today. So what's the difference between active listening and we're not even talking about passive listening, right? Because
Yeah.
passive listening is where sound is heard and not really received, but
Yes.
right? Yeah. What do you have to say about active listening and effective listening? And could you suggest uh, two listening habits that we can adopt to become effective listeners? Because I know some of the audience has their pens right there to take it down. So whatever you say becomes gospel truth for today. Yeah.
Yes. I think the it's an odd thing really to need to put something before listening. We're trying to, my sense is we're trying to make it something that people will be, make it more attractive, because there's somebody I read, there's something like 200 different words you can put in front of listening,
Hmm.
right? It's
Hmm.
crazy. You
Yeah.
you go to the gym to learn about, I don't know, let's say to work your muscles. You don't talk about necessarily deep work or active work. I'm going to the gym. So if you're really
Yeah.
listening, you're
Yeah.
listening, right?
Mm.
And
Mm.
it's all of the things you've said and more. So
Yeah.
personally, I would say don't get hung up on it. If you are listening, you're listening,
Mm.
right? If you're not listening, you're hearing.
Mm.
This is, for me, it's as black and white as that.
Yeah.
In terms of a couple of things I've touched on them really. One is to not try and fix or offer a solution, right?
Mm.
Which also means you're putting your own stuff to the side.
Mm.
Second would be to give more time when the other person is speaking, sorry, has spoken,
Mm.
to pause because they may well speak again. We speak in waves and pauses, waves and pauses. And you've done your first wave of thinking and you're pausing and you're now thinking. What might come next, which sadly often never gets the chance out because
Yeah.
this is your thought thread, I've
Mm.
already jumped in with my thoughts, right? So give you a bit longer and you go, oh, I've just thought, and you carry on. And then, as I've said, and what more? Because when you say that,
Mm.
it's so rare, people go, oh my goodness, listen to the language, he is interested in me.
In me. Yeah.
And
Mm.
why shouldn't we all have a voice that people will listen to?
Mm.
It feels wrong that our voices are not heard. Imagine a culture
Mm.
where everyone felt heard.
Yeah.
So if you go back into, we've talked about before, listening circles, the
Mm.
circle was where you learned what was happening. And if you didn't learn and you were out of sync, you may not belong. And if you didn't belong in the tribe, that was like a death penalty. So
Yeah.
everyone listened, and we had the metaphorical stick, which we
Mm.
use, right? Here is the item. When I've got it, I'm speaking. And when I've got it and I'm speaking, the
Mm.
rest of you are listening. That's honoring, that's respect.
Mm.
Whoever you are, you might be the less experienced person in the circle. I've got this. And you may come up with the wisest thing that anyone
Mm.
has said that day,
That's true.
right?
Mm.
When I've got this, I can go, I'd like a minute of pause, a minute of silence, so
Mm.
that I can recollect, reset.
Mm.
Or I may just go, no, there's nothing for me to say at this moment. I'm going to pass it on. And a friend of mine, after one of the Listening Matters events, tried a listening circle at home with her family, husband and children.
Mm-hmm.
They loved it because it's about dialogue, it's about speaking into the center. Just because my view is different to yours doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It's just a different view. And
Respect.
and the
Mm.
final piece on that with listening circles,
Mm.
there might be
Mm.
5 or 6 or 10 people in the room. You ask a binary, what seems like a binary question, you end up with 5, 6, 10 different views.
Cues. Mm.
So every time I run one, I come out wiser
Mm.
and realizing that there isn't just one answer. So there might be extreme answers, and I go, both of those are valid,
Yeah.
as are all of these in the middle.
Mm.
What do you
That's so
think?
so amazing. Yeah. 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 Colin, this is quite amazing. I think I would like this to be one of the biggest takeaways for our audience that get on with these listening circles, as we're calling them. Sit with your spouse and listen to her. Really listen to her. There's a funny anecdote I wanted to share with you, Colin. Just recently, we were all talking in a ladies group, and we were talking about keeping secrets. And this friend said, you know, when she gets an urge to share a secret, shares it only with one person, that's her husband. And we said, why? Because he never listens anyway. So what's he going to, what's he going to say to anyone, right?
Right.
Um, but you know, uh, talking about listening to others, I just want to change this scenario a little bit. Uh, we also we're talking about listening, but let's reverse this. Like you said, we want to feel heard, not just listen. Like we want to speak and be heard. So I find that people who don't get a chance to speak, like if they don't have enough good listeners around them, I think they are unhappy, they are depressed, and they're very lonely. So Colin, from the viewpoint of someone who finds it very very hard to hold, and this is really important, if they are unable to hold some attention of the person in front, if they're not a good listener, what can someone do? Can they circle back? Say, for example, let me give you an example. I start with a story and I'm already a little nervous because I already think you're going to interrupt me. So I'm trying to speak fast. That's what a lot of people do.
Yep.
Um, and let's take a scenario that you did interrupt me. Now, what are the good, as I wouldn't say social graces, but what's a smart way to circle back to the conversation for me?
Okay. So this is where you're in the middle of speaking and
Hmm.
somebody interrupts you.
Yeah.
Right. The one of the ways will be to thank you, as I was saying,
Ah, that's a good one.
right, and that you can come back. Um, or another one might be picking up what I've just said and going back slightly on that to remind you, and then carrying on. The part of the challenge is that, I talked about these waves of thinking and pauses, is that it's a unique wave and pause. The moment it's interrupted, that thinking wave has gone. It's a little bit like the dream and trying to share your dream with someone. The more you work with it, the more it disappears. So there's those practices. There's also being very clear about what you want. So there's a book. It's called Super Communicators by Charles Duhigg, and he says there's 3 things that people want. Do I want a hug? Do I want to be heard? Do I want to be helped? So as a listener, that might be the question I ask. So I do that with Molly. Do you need a hug? Do you need to be heard? Do you need to be helped? Sometimes she'll come in and she'll say, I just need to be hugged, right? When she's had the hug, can I just share what I've been thinking? She wants to be heard now. And at the end of it, she might say, I'm done. Or she might go, what are your thoughts on it? On what I've just shared? And then I may say, and what more? To get her to speak a bit more, or I will give her some of my thoughts. But that simple question, where are they at? Because as a listener, how do I meet you where you are? Not where I am.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's why when I'm in this space and still and settled, it's like a radiator. I'm sitting here with my warmth, waiting for you to arrive. And when you arrive and I see you're receiving my warmth, great. Now there is, what was the other one which came to mind? It's about receiving, interrupting. No, don't worry, it'll come back. It'll come back.
No, but
so does that answer the question?
Yes, Colin, absolutely. And I like that, the hug, to be heard and to be helped.
Yes.
And so starters like, in the conversation, you could have starters like, can I help you? Or how do you approach, say, for example, let's go back to, I'm also talking about people learning how to, the entry point of a conversation with, say, for example, we're creating these scenarios because they are practical. This is where I find people engaged and disengaged or not. So say, for example, you meet someone new. Most of us overthink and say something polite like, how are you? And
Yeah.
how are you? But a lot of times, Colin, that conversation never deepens. And, sometimes you say, where are you from? And they'll go like, oh, I'm from New York, or I'm from New Delhi. And that's it. There is no curiosity. It's not even a dialogue. So what is a great way that makes you feel present and start a conversation with a stranger? And this is not random, but I think this is going to be really a shift in people, how they approach people and learn and grow.
Lovely question. I'm not an expert at all in this area, but my thinking is that pretty much everyone loves to talk about themselves. Right. First and foremost, let me talk about myself. Then, if I've got time, I may be interested in talking about you, or letting you talk about you. So I have a phrase which is listen first, listen always, all the ways that you can think, always. And you can do the how are you? And they say, I'm fine. And they go, you could say, fine, really? And they go, yeah, maybe it's not, because I'm interested,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah, that's what I
they're
meant. How do you show
right,
that interest? Yeah.
right, because I can pick up on the words they use. Fine,
Mm,
really? Is it? Is it that? Is it? Then you could go, well, when you say fine, does that mean it's a good fine, or is it nah, a fine? Okay. And the moment you start being interested,
mm,
they're already settling down, because you meet someone new and it's like our radars are up, red flags. Is this person safe?
mm.
Are they? Who are they? Is there a way out? So we're running on that fight or flight at that point, and it's the
Absolutely.
calmness, the time we take, the tone, the speech, the pattern, all of those things.
Mm,
Oh, he doesn't feel like a threat. Starting to settle. Um, you could you can make compliments. Is my Molly, my wife, does it. We ended up in a conversation with her because she literally said, "Oh my goodness, what a beautiful dress!" And fair dues it was, right? And she makes
right.
it easy, right?
Yeah.
Now it's slightly harder for a man to make those compliments, which is a shame, because it's like, "What do you want?" And already they're going, "Who are you?" Right?
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
but you could. There's lots of things. One person I met the first time, and he had the initials PGA on
Hmm.
it, on his, and I said, "Oh, I've noticed you got PGA on your t-shirt. Is that the Professional Golf of Association?" And he said,
Uh-huh.
"It is." Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, are you connected with them? And suddenly it's there.
So,
And you could say, it depends on what the environment and everything, but
sure.
one of the most so there's another book here called Deep Listening,
Mm,
right? And it's by,
mm.
let me show you, it's by a lady, a lovely lady actually, called
Deep
Emily
listening. Emily. Okay. Yes.
Casriel, right?
Emily Casriel. Yeah.
Yep. And I sort of went to the book launch. I didn't quite, because for different reasons I didn't get there till it almost finished. I went in, and so I got the chance to speak to some of the people that had been there. I
Mm,
said, "Tell me about the launch. What did she say?" And they
mm,
said, "Oh, well, the most interesting thing was the conversations we had as an exercise that she gave."
mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you about the exercise. And everyone I spoke to, that was what they focused on. It wasn't what she'd said. It
Mm,
was the exercise they'd had the experience of. And she said, "Go and find someone who's new, that you've never met,
mm.
ask them this question, and they'll ask you that question, which is, what food most reminds you of home?" And then whatever they say about it, once
Mm,
they've
mm.
spoken, pick up some of the pieces of that. So, gosh, what do I remember about food at home? What I particularly remember is my mum's whatever. And part of the reason I liked it is it was comfort food, because
Mm.
it was quite challenging at home, because dad wasn't home very often. So mum had to do everything. You go, "Oh my goodness, that must have been really difficult. What did your dad do?" Meant he was away. He was in the armed forces or something or something. And it's like, "Oh,
Switch
so
roles.
did you move around a lot?" "Oh my goodness, yeah, I was forever making friends. That must have been difficult,
Mm.
going into etc. etc." And suddenly the conversation has gone, whew, deep dive,
I get you. I get
right?
you. Yeah.
So, and because I'm interested in you, everything you say, there's a possible strand that will come out from it,
Mm.
right? You talked about rice pudding, for example. Was there a main that you particularly like? Why the sweet, the pudding? What was it? And I go, "Oh yeah, it was just, I don't know, it's just the way my mum made it, and it felt as though, if I think about it now, I can remember my mum."
Yeah. So you
Right?
pick pick up on
Yeah.
those things that creates memories, creates conversation, and gets
Yes.
someone really engaged and excited to share.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. It's not difficult. It is
Mm.
only difficult if I'm just wait. Come on, answer your question. Answer it so I can get in with mine,
Yeah.
because I'm
That's
not.
where we started. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not really interested in you.
Yeah.
And by the way, you feel that I'm not interested in you.
Mm.
You share, and this is typical. This happens a lot. You share something emotional, And then I go, oh, right, I know it's my turn to speak now. And I'd speak, and you just go, I just shared something important emotionally, and you've batted it aside.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. And Colin, before we actually circle back to some simple practices, or weapons, whatever we
Weapons?
want to call it.
No, no, they're
That
not weapons.
exactly. So this is what happens, right? This intensity of us wanting to jump in. It's for me, uh, Colin, it just makes me feel like there's so much loneliness out here. And if
Yes,
we can be that wonderful space, that gentle, loving space, that you can hold space for people, people would love to be around you. You all of a sudden have these bonds and you become the most favorite person.
yes.
Yeah, so just I'm going to connect it to what I'm speaking in the US. I'm going to miss out on seeing you in the US. I was hoping you will come for our Tampa Bay,
Oh,
you
you're
know,
going to the friendship
yes,
gathering, right?
I am, and I'm speaking about the formidable power of loving kindness. Um,
Beautiful.
and I think this is loving kindness in another fashion where you are
100%.
creating this beautiful, safe space for people to, if you allow me to use the word purge, I know it's not a very good word, but people want to vent. Uh,
Yes,
right? And you give
yes,
them that space, and that
yes.
happens in leadership as well, right?
Yep,
Intentional listening, it shapes the leadership's credibility, it creates an overall culture of trust. Um,
yep.
so, what would you say, Colin, if I can just shift this? Because in our group, there was a few people who particularly said, could we touch on leadership? And I
Sure.
know that you work with a lot of companies with top leadership. Uh, what is it, if there was just one or two practices or to team leaders or business owners, what can they use to create a more engaged and safe workplace? What can they do? Just two practices, maybe. It's hard. You could give us 100, but
No,
any two. We'll settle for two today,
of
Colin.
course. Thank you. We spoke earlier about all the different words you can put in front of listening,
Yeah.
right? Actually, listening is listening. And if you think about a business, it's all about relationships. It's the people. It's not the company is what encompasses it, but it's all about how all of these different people connect and collaborate with each other. And the more they connect and collaborate, the more they trust, the more they like, the more they're willing to share, the more they're willing to open up with others because of it. So if you imagine that a business, let's say it's just two people, how they connect, collaborate, and all those sorts of things is based on all the things that we've talked about listening, about giving each other time, about appreciation, about taking time to intend to listen. It's all here in what we've been talking about. It's all there. If it becomes 10 people, 20 people, 100 people, same sort of thing.
Yeah.
And there was a story, and I think it was Winston Churchill's mother, and there was Disraeli and somebody else, and forgive me, I can't remember the exact names, but she met them both for dinner at different times, and she said with one of them, I felt he was the most important person in the room.
Mm.
In the other one, he made me feel as though I was the most important person in the room. And so good leaders will make sure that other people feel they are important, one by one by one by one.
Mm.
A story, there's one leader who started the behavior of Whenever she was stopped for a conversation with someone, she'd move deliberately, without saying it, move her phone from her hand into her handbag and
Oh,
close the
that's a good
bag.
one. That's a good
Right?
one.
She didn't say anything,
Mm,
but what she was triggering or modeling was, you are important for me at this moment. Over time, she noticed more and more people doing the same thing. So leaders model the behavior. A situation a long time ago, a new board level manager, or sorry, leader came on board, big organization, and he said, I'm open to what you tell me, your suggestions, your thoughts, your thinking.
mm,
I'm genuinely interested. And a friend of mine who was probably a number of levels down, I'm going to send him a little note about what I think. And he waited and waited. And about a week or 10 days later, he got a conversation with his boss. And his boss said, what's all this about? And he went, oh, well, blah, blah. He said, we won't be doing that again, will we?
mm,
So it sends a clear message. Imagine if the message had come from the top directly to him and with a copy to his boss, said,
mm.
thank you so much for your ideas. I really appreciate them. There's a couple of things in there I'd like to speak to you directly about. How do you think he would feel? Completely different. So the more the leader is willing to, I suppose, be vulnerable themselves, be willing to come down and sit with other people. I mean, it's not the answer to everything, but this sort of work makes such a big difference to how people feel and how safe it is to be able to share things. Because sometimes
Absolutely.
the moment we share something and it gets moved around the building and everything, and suddenly it's like, what are you playing at? I won't be doing that again. That's the
Absolutely.
message. Don't do it
Mm,
again. Keep your
mm.
head down. And therefore it becomes more and more toxic. More
Yeah.
people, the good boss the bad boss walks into the board meeting and he says, we've got a problem as a company. This is what I think we should do.
Mm.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Now,
Open it out. Yeah.
right, but it takes a brave person to say something different to what the boss has just said.
Yeah.
Imagine the boss who comes in and said, hey, we've got a problem.
Yeah.
You are my top 10 people in the company. You're paid a lot of money as well, and I value your experience and wisdom. What do you think we should do?
Yeah.
And I want everyone to have their ideas and to think about them. How can we build on each other's ideas? Very different environment to work in. Too different.
100%. 100%. And Colin, I'm really excited. Like, thank you so much for bringing that up because I was going to mention that earlier, and that's something that's escaped me. That listening requires courage,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really I wanted your interpretation, and you just mentioned. So thank you so much for it. That there's a risk to truly listen, um, and not just to others, like you said, with the boss, but also sometimes just listening to ourselves, listening to
Yes.
the voice inside. Oh my God, if you sit in meditation and you give yourself permission to listen, I think that requires a lot of bravery and a lot of courage. So thank you so much
Yes.
for bringing that up. I really want the audience at this stage. I think we're all warmed enough. I only see KK Rajputji. He's an amazing person. He's a scientist and he's still trying to, at any age, trying to learn. We've got Dr. Manish Paul, who's just patented, I don't know how many things. So I've got my teammate, Deepak Nakra here. So could we possibly have everyone come on with their videos? It's okay if you're in your pajamas. It's okay if you're cooking. It's perfectly okay if you all have oiled hair, because that's something we do at the end of the evening here in India. So please, if we could have a fantastic smile, and then I'm going to open this forum for questions. So could we have our videos on so that Colin can look at your nice, brilliant faces? Oh, there's Dr. Manish and Sapna. Hey guys. Yeah, so there's Dr. Manish, a brilliant scientist. And Namrita is a future president. She's right now a very, very active Rotaractor. Gayatri there, working in the nursing profession. I am just so happy. Rupa, my dear friend, good to see you after so long. Colin, these are wonderful, wonderful circle, well, brilliant, golden-hearted people that you have
Thank you.
today in your audience. And with that, I'm just going to ask you for two takeaways that we can apply. So my question is very specific. What's the one small shift we can make this week to listen a little bit more deeply to others and to ourselves?
It's one we've touched on, and I would say the best one to learn for today would be not to fix, not to offer a solution, but to encourage them to think further of themselves and to probably, almost certainly, will answer their own question. So when they come to a question, so what do you think? I'm happy to give you my answers at some stage, but I'm more interested in what you're thinking about it because it's
That's
rare.
amazing.
Most people, when you say to them, when was the last time somebody said to you, what do you think?
Oh, I
Because,
love that. I
right,
love that. I'm stealing that like
please steal it.
today, 11th of February, 8:11 p.m.
Yeah,
Yeah, what do you
because the other,
think? I love
yeah,
that.
because the other question is, when was the last time somebody said to you, sorry, when was the last time when was the last time you felt really heard?
Are you saying that?
That's another question to
Oh,
ask. When was
that's a
the last time you felt
question,
really heard?
not an action. That's
No.
interesting.
So the action for me, the primary action would be to try this week not to interrupt, not to fix, not to offer a solution, but to encourage them to think for themselves and probably will smile and answer that question. And if they go a little bit quiet, say, and what more?
Mm,
And
beautiful.
they will smile. That's the probably the best one of all, I think.
I just love that. To all my friends here, if you see me very silent for the next few months, it's, you know why. I'm just trying to be a very good listener. I'm never short of things to say, but I will restrain myself, I promise. At that note, I am going to open this beautiful session to the audience. If there's any, okay, we have our first question coming up from Abhijit. Abhijit is my co-director here at Rotary Health and Wellness. Um, Go ahead, Abhijit, all yours.
Thank you, Minku. Thank you, Minku. Colin, this question probably would make sense today. Am I audible to you?
Yes.
Lovely.
Yes.
Thank you. Right. So, in today's time of AI and people having very, very short attention span because of so many social distractions we have in terms of short videos of 30 seconds or 40 seconds or so. I think listening is going to be a pretty hard skill to have, especially for uh, today's generation and beyond. So, what do you think needs to be done for everybody, despite having so many fractions, despite having the pace of AI jarring at your face? What do you think has to really, really happen? Because we all know that slowing down, calming down, theoretically, we all know that this is the way to be. And are we? We are not. So, in your thoughts, what really needs to happen, Colin? Over to you, please. Thank you.
I think it's tough. So I think it's a
Hmm.
great question you've asked. I think it's tough for this generation, and probably the generation before them. I think it would be, yes, AI. Well, some would argue that actually AI is just get me my speakers back so I can see you, and I can, because I was on the screen on my own at that moment, seeing myself, which is never good. I think for them to be able to move away, AI is very good in lots of ways. It will listen to you in ways that probably humans will struggle to ever compete with. It repeats back what you've said. It is very empathic at times, etc., etc. But what this generation are missing is the ability to communicate and connect with another. Let's just take the one we all have done, the romantic relationship. Right? How do I, as a man, connect with a woman? Let's just take that particular one. I'm not against the others. Or a woman receive from the man. And I've used this in with the younger groups, is that from a man's perspective, I'm going to teach you to listen so that you'll be able to have better conversations and have better relationships with person of the opposite sex. And the other side, I can be able to tell them what it's like to feel heard, to feel valued, and to be able to give that back at the same time. And so I really do worry that we're losing this ability to listen to each other and to connect, because listening isn't a soft skill, it's a life skill. And when you get into the work environment, and I appreciate things are changing, is you're going to be working alongside someone. Now, we talk about these team meetings that they have, and the meeting is usually be hosted by someone who goes around the room or the Zoom rooms, right? The Zoom callers say, right, Colin, tell me about what's going on for you. Minnku, what's happening with you? What's red? What's green? What's amber? Great, done. Thank you. Now, when I would guess that when you and I were working like that, people were sitting next to you. You had lunch together, you had a coffee together, you met at this, you in the corridor, we walked from building to building together. All of those things. There was time before the meeting. Now you arrive in a meeting and everyone's on their phone because we don't know how to do this. And it's the piece of it's glue and it's oil that keeps organizations going, collaboration and community, connection. That's what's important. It's less hierarchical these days. It's more about all the connections that you have. That's just my initial thoughts on the subject, but it's encourage them to learn to listen and be that, in your position, be the role model that listens well to them and encourage them to understand, how did that feel, to feel really heard? And they go, oh my goodness, it felt really good. I noticed my fight or flight slowed down. You encouraged me to think, and I hadn't realized I could think like this. And I've come up with some ideas and I've shared some things with you that I've never shared before.
Mm-hmm.
That's why listening matters. Does that help?
That's pretty deep. Yeah. Yep. It's as deep as, this reminds me of one book I read, Deep Thinking, Cal Newport. So a lot of
Yep.
principles, yeah, a lot of principles are written. I mean, I've read about it quite a while ago. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much for
Thank you
that.
so much for your
Thank you.
question. Great question. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. Thank you, Abhijit. I think it's also, I find, Colin, if I could just add to that, the one thing that AI cannot do is physical touching. So
Yep.
I always find, if I'm with someone during the conversation, just to put your hand on their shoulder, I think that is like the chord that AI
Yep.
can do. So especially with you or with someone. It's really nice. I'm just going to hand this over. We've got just about a few. We are overshot the time, so I know, Colin, that you might have places to go.
So I've got just so you know, I've got another 5 minutes.
Yes, absolutely. So we'll over to you, Kishorji, if you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Thank you very much, Minku, for calling me and listening to Colin. It was a pleasure, absolute pleasure. I just
Thank
want
you.
one simple question which has been in my mind. In last few decades, I find listening has become highly biased and preconceived instead absolute of the individual. What do you say, Mr. Colin?
Can you repeat the question just so I'm
Yeah,
clear about the question?
my question is, in last few decades, I find listening has become highly biased and preconceived instead of individual absoluteness, or instead absolute of the individual. What is your opinion on that?
So if I understand, so you're saying that what you've noticed is that listening has become more biased, that it's more about myself rather than others. Have I got that bit right?
Then I mean, what I said, that even our listening these days has become preconceived, and we don't hear
Preconceived,
preconceived,
preconsumed.
and we don't listen to the absolute of the individual.
Right, we're not. Right. So we think we know what the other is going to say. That's the question,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I would agree, but that's hearing. It's not listening. When I'm listening to you, I genuinely want to understand what you're saying. I also, in this brief moment, you've become the most important person in my life.
Wow.
Right? And when you get that, I'm genuinely interested in responding to your question. Now, if we were together, I'd probably go, what do you think? Because why don't I encourage you to think about the question you've just asked? And then you may go, yeah, I've got these thoughts. And so go, great. And I'd love to know what you're now seeing. So you've got your thoughts, I've got my thoughts, so we can get together. And it's like, oh my goodness. So now one of the questions would be, what's your freshest thinking now? So you've had your thoughts, my thoughts, etc. And you're putting them all together and you go, so now what I'm concluding is this. And so, but I think you're right. In much like most things, there's going to be a dark side of listening and a light side of listening, right? So some say, if I learn about listening, then I can get more of what I want. So as a salesperson, if I give them the eye contact, if I nod and I repeat back what they've said, they'll trust me and they'll buy from me. The trouble is, we're not stupid people. You will notice, you'll go, there's something not right about them. You may not be able to articulate what it is, but you'll sense in your being there's something not right. And you go, yeah, thanks ever so much, Colin. I'd like to think about it some more. And all of that. And so, and in the end you go, no, because you'll meet someone else and they'll go, and they will genuinely be interested in you, as in, how can I serve you, not what can I get? Yeah? Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it more or less convinces me.
It makes sense to you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I know there's a lot more question, and I had actually received two questions, which I will save. For everyone's knowledge, I have also dropped Colin's coordinates in the chat. So if anyone would like to get in touch with Colin, please feel free to, if that's okay with you, Colin, through your email.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm just looking at that. Yes, please do that. If you've got questions, Minnku, please email them to me and I'll do my best to answer them. And if
Yeah.
anyone wants to connect like that and send me an email to say, can we talk a little bit more about this? Either we can do it over email or I'd happily have a Zoom call with them. Very happy to do that.
Thank you, Colin. You always have such a big heart.
My pleasure.
As we begin to close, I want to leave everyone with this gentle thought. Exactly what Colin says. I'm going to give you an extract of this, Colin. I hope I got this right. Listening isn't about fixing, correcting, or responding perfectly. It's about presence. When someone listens, connection deepens, trust grows, collaboration becomes possible. And the one thing I'm adding from myself is without effort, healing begins, because that's
Yes.
when you. So,
Yes.
Colin, this isn't about communication skills. It's about presence. It's about leadership. It's about courage. And it's the quiet discipline of truly, truly hearing another human being. Thank you so
Now,
much.
can I offer just one quick story that picks
Please.
up on exactly what you just said?
Mm-hmm.
I was in a retail store about to get my groceries paid for. They come in the checkout, and the lady said, and she was only a youngster, probably 18, 19. She said, "How are you?" And I said, "Fine. How are you?" And she said, "I'm fine, thank you." And then I walked to the other side, and she just stopped and looked at me, and she said, "I'm not really. I'm really struggling." And I just carried on looking at her.
Mm.
And she then told me about what's been going on and social media, being outed, finished with a boyfriend, all sorts of problems, police involved.
Mm.
And the healing in just that moment for her was letting the air
Air
out
out.
of her
Yeah.
balloon.
Yeah.
And so she, obviously I don't know what happened, but she was in a better
Mm.
space, I believe, when we finished. So all the things you just said are spot on. And that, for me, illustrates it beautifully. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Minnku,
Colin.
for hosting this and some wonderful, wonderful questions and being with me on that journey as well. And as I said earlier, thank you all for taking time out of your evening to be with us.
Thank you, Colin. You and I know that this association of ours is long-standing, and any one of us, are happy to host you. If you ever decide to visit India, each one of us will welcome you and take you around. And likewise, I love the breakfast in Mayfair. So if I'm in the UK, we know
Please,
where we are going to be dining. So,
that would be good. I'd like that
uh,
very much.
okay, take
All right, my
care
friend.
and
Take care. Lots of love. Take care.
namaste to everyone and have a good
Thank you.
evening. Thank you so much, Colin, from my heart to yours.